Welcome to the Invisibility Podcast. My name is Danae, and today we'll be discussing me and my story. Identifying as an African-Canadian woman of Caribbean descent is a title that I hold proud, which I'm sure many do. Today we will discuss, however, another title which I have no choice but to hold proud. At the end of this podcast, I would love to hear about what you see through my story with disability. Today, we will be discussing rethinking, shaping companies for minorities in the long run, what is needed, and if it's worth it. Today's podcast is Stand Up or Fall Down. I have gone through many a racial encounter and been completely unaware that it's taken place. My naiveness and my ignorance is something that has gotten me to a point to make me more aware of making sure it doesn't happen again. I have discussed many a thing in my life to many people, which I'm sure everybody has, but no longer being shy of the stigma that goes behind what I hold, which is epilepsy. Working in aviation, I came across many different people, many different walks of life, and many different setbacks while working. I have impacted many a passenger, many a associate, an employer, and I've kind of scared people at the same time. Living as a Black woman and living with a disability, it has very well set me back and pulled me away from who I actually am as an individual. And I've now realized that it is a part of who I am today. I have impacted many people as far as coworkers, passengers, all walks of life, and I've either made them aware or gotten them scared of being a person with epilepsy. Robert Livington made an outline for organizations to stand towards racism. The acronym PRESS is what I will discuss in regards to my life. Problem awareness. Reservation seats needed at the table, identifying my story, racial discrimination, disability accommodations. One of many incidents, if or when shifting in the right path, will show efforts taken to be seated. P being touched on, we now go to R, root cause analysis. In today's work field, diversity is the problem that lacks for colored employees. It needs to be widened. Now with disability, it needs to be taken more seriously. In the last few years, there has been a wide increase in jobs. However, the stigma and fear, if educated, can definitely change over time. E, empathy. The consideration needed after employing minority must also be held accountable. White coworkers have to be informed on regular situations occurring with the minority colleagues. Disability, an invisible one at that, if trained when circumstances require assistance with associates, it can be viewed as a setback to organizations. The money delegated towards training can increase doubt and question, is it worth it in the long haul? I'll never be able to tell, so that seat may be taken for another reservation. S, strategy. Like I said previously, having a budget within the company for training of non-white associates will not only educate but display the diversity of the business, with still keeping in place expectations and essential guidelines of the company. S, sacrifice. The last S, okay? When employing the minority, again, like stated before, there needs to be consistency with the job and the goals needed to acquire and maintain the comfortability of different diverse employees. The consideration needed when I was at work was based off the employees I worked with. They knew whenever I had an episode to call the ambulance after a certain amount of time had passed. They knew to lay me on my side based off what I had communicated with them in conversation. There was an incident where a senior set of employees had walked into a checkpoint. They came off lunch and walked into me having a seizure. They instantly ran to my attention and put a spoon in my mouth. A spoon. The ER ambulance came on scene and had informed all my associates that if they positioned me any other way, I could have swallowed my tongue and died. Sounds scary, it is scary. I'm gonna let that resonate for a second. I came to my bloody uniform. I was confused. Last time I checked, my uniform was white. I disregarded that entirely because I had urinated on myself. I went to the hospital to get checked out. One of numerous occasions that actually took place at work. Again, not something to brag about. My senior employees were using what they were taught in their younger years, they had later explained to me. First aid is not mandatory in aviation fields. However, one of many incidents that, if educated, could have helped me in some way. Either way, I'm more grateful because I'm here doing the podcast, right? So press will definitely impress many associates in these situations. I'm really cheesy. In every of many situations that I've come across, I always have to stay lighthearted because I'm here to tell a story. My employer, over many years of accommodations, had let me go. And I did not fight it because I was worried of actually affecting the actual company. So, there was more of a fight behind that. If I actually took that stand, if I was white, would it have been dealt with differently? A question of many employees that come across the same circumstances. A very contradicting closing for this podcast, but I chose not to do anything to better myself. I fell down. Would you have stood up in this circumstance? What would you have done? Not only being Black and an African Canadian woman, but being disabled on top of it. My name's Danae, and just like my disability, this is the Invisibility Podcast. Take care.